My name is Joe. These are just opinions. I am JOEpinionated. Today on JOEpinionated list, music edition. I'm counting down my top 30 favorites for John Prine. John Prine, an American songwriting mega superstar, one of the greatest to ever do it. Song number 30 all time comes from his debut record from 1971. The song is Hello in There. The way that this guy says something and put you in a place, and it's all just so relatable. I'm really in a state of shock and still quite blown away by John Prine at this point. Hello in There, great example. Way to get it kicked off. Number 30. Song number 29 is Everything Is Cool. After listening to John Prine for a while, I just see where so many influences come from. And even stuff like Deer Tick and Middle Brother and that stuff, all heavily influenced by John Prine. The next one comes off of 1973's Sweet Revenge, one of his biggest albums. The track is Dear Abby. Signed Bewildered. Makes me think of Robbie Burns. Number 27 comes off of Bruised Orange. The song is the opener, Fish and Whistle. Mark Twain of songwriting, coming from the same place, I guess. You know, Mark Twain working on the riverboats when he was a kid. This guy having some great memories down in Kentucky, in the Green River. They sound like they're inspired by the same stuff. From 1991's The Missing Years comes number 26's It's a Big Old Goofy World. Just incredible lyrics. And it's best to hear them sung by John, young, old, live. When he has the full band or when it's just him doing it with the acoustic guitar, they're both equally as incredible. It's a Big Old Goofy World. Number 25 all time on the JOEpinionated list for my favorite so far John Prine songs comes from Sweet Revenge. The song is Grandpa Was a Carpenter. The song about his grandpa was Level on the Level. Grandpa Was a Carpenter. Number 24, the song is Crooked Piece of Time. Yesterday morning, an ill wind came and blew your picture right out of the picture frame. Even blew the candle out from underneath the flame. Number 23 on my list of favorite songs so far is called Mexican Home. I got into this one watching a cover of this song by Luke Bell. Rest in peace, Luke Bell, as well. He passed away, I think, just last year. Number 2 comes off the debut album as well, the one where he's sitting on the pile of hay. And every single song on that album is an absolute killer. 22 is 6 O'Clock News. Number 21 comes off of German Afternoons. I mentioned earlier he was stationed in Germany, so that might be where that comes from. The song is a John Prine classic and is likely number 1 on many lists. The song is Paradise. Muhlenberg County, Kentucky. I just know this is an amazing song. The best in the biz all around this guy. Trying to soak it up, a bit of him, really. This is the way that they all talk about it. Number 21's Paradise. Number 20 on the JOEpinionated list. Greatest list on the internet. I'm so happy that I got into John Prine now. Better late than never. I can't believe I would have missed this. Song number 20 is Blue Umbrella off of Sweet Revenge. And then a lot of them were redone. Yeah, Blue Umbrella was on this one, obviously on the other TV. I love that. I think he went back in and redid a whole bunch of his classics on Souvenirs. Sliding into number 19, we have the iconic classic Angel from Montgomery. John writes a song from the perspective of an elderly woman. I am an old woman. This is one of the songs that John played for Chris Christopherson. I mean, the amount of hits that he played from that first night at the Fifth Peg, and that's in Chicago, now a coffee shop. Bonnie Raitt, the song, I mean, it's amazing when she does it, and all of his collaborations throughout the years with this track. Even to be able to do that too, just to write the story from this lady's perspective, household favorite. At number 18, we have a waltz from his original album, one of the other ones he played for Chris Christopherson that night, and John Prine is noted as saying it's his favorite of his own tunes. The song is Far From Me. And the sky is black and still now on the hill where the angels sing. Ain't it funny how an old broken bottle looks just like a diamond ring, but it's far, Far From Me. Next up, from 1978's Fish and Whistle, That's the Way That the World Goes Round, at number 17. It's just his way that he finds wisdom in the chaos of everyday life. It's clever. De Niro in Casino says there's nothing without trust. Something about John Prine's music, you just automatically trust this guy. And the live version on this one, The Happy Enchilada, good little story too. That's number 17. Next up, from 1991's The Missing Years, All the Best. Lots of Christmas references in this one too. I like it how he relates love to the Christmas tree getting chucked out in the front yard. But the kids don't know, they can only guess how hard it is to wish you happiness. Number 15 is another one that was sang to Chris Christopherson that legendary night, first night, from the first album, Donald and Lydia. Clever song. And if you don't know what it's about, look it up, read the lyrics. Bob Dylan, I'm pretty sure, did mention this song too as being a song that only John Prine could have written, and so glad he did. From 1995's Lost Dogs and Mixed Blessings, Ain't Hurtin' Nobody, comes in at number 14. When he has the full band and stuff like that on some of these sort of more country albums, I mentioned the first one, his songwriting idols were Bob Dylan, Hank Williams, and Roger Miller. Love watching him talk. He's one of those people like Tom Waits. It's just endlessly entertaining to listen to the stories and the way he tells them, and just this clever, very funny storyteller. Number 13 is a cover of Johnny Cash, The Ways of a Woman in Love. Johnny Cash named John Prine and his buddy Steve Goodman as being two of his biggest inspirations. Rodney Crowell and Guy Clark are the other two that Johnny Cash always went back to when he's writing songs. So I think it's kind of cool that Prine paid him back by covering one of his songs, because Cash covered him. Number 12, I think it was him at Austin City Limits. He does a lot of those that are great, telling a story about Jesus, the missing years. Number 12. If you grew up in church anyways, or like a Christian church, they talk about Jesus till he's 12, and then from the time he's 12 till he's in his 30s, I think, there's just not a lot on that in the book. John Prine said, hey, I'm going to write a song about what he was up to those years. Funny, clever song about something that I remember thinking about when I was younger. He thought about it and wrote a song. That's the thing with all these songs. Very relatable lyrics. Jesus the Missing Years is absolutely hilarious, and I suggest you watch it live too, just because the story of the lead into is just so clever and funny. From his last album in 2018, The Tree of Forgiveness. It's the opening track, Knocking on Your Doorstep, called Knocking on Your Screen Door. He sings a lot about George Jones too, which is pretty awesome, because I've been digging George Jones, and George tells stories, right? Every song is his story. And he's got lots of awesome people on this record. I'm pretty sure Jason Isbell, maybe Casey Musgraves. He works with everybody. That's great. Margot Price. Remember to like and subscribe to shit. What do I got to listen to for John Prine? I got 10 more to go, but I understand that I'm not an expert on John Prine like some people really are. I don't really claim to be an expert on anything. These are just opinions. Number 10 is a cover of Blaze Foley's Clay Pigeons. Coming in at number 9, JOEpinionated list. From his first album, the song is Sam Stone. From 1999, the song is the title track at In Spite of Ourselves. Number 7 was the first one that I actually got into for John Prine. The first song that I sought out and said, hey, I really like that. This one's got a really rocking guitar on it. The song is pretty good from his debut record. Number 6, it's off of German Afternoons. The song is The Speed of the Sound of Loneliness. Sliding in at number 5 from 2018's The Tree of Forgiveness is one of the saddest songs on the list. It's sad, but in a good way. The song is Summer's End. Number 4, another banger off his debut self-titled album, John Prine. The song is Illegal Smile. All right, number 3 comes off of The Tree of Forgiveness. I'm just loving that record. That's actually my most recent purchase here, is The Tree of Forgiveness. And I also love Science. It's kind of a funny song. It's not really about science, but there's a bit of that in there. And the song is The Lonesome Friends of Science. Okay, John Prine's a huge Christmas fan. Number 2 is Christmas in Prison from Sweet Revenge from 1973. And that's a huge one of his biggest records. I prefer the Souvenirs version. Okay, number 1 on the JOEpinionated list initially came off of his second album, Diamonds in the Rough, and once again, I prefer the version on Souvenirs. Some of the early recordings are a little bit rough. I prefer the Souvenirs version of the song Souvenirs. I hate graveyards and old pawn shop, for they always bring me tears. I can't forgive the way they robbed me of my childhood souvenirs. I only got into John Prine just a couple of years ago. I had a couple people live close by that are huge John Prine fans. They kept trying to get me into John Prine. For some reason, I kept owning the same album and I just didn't get into it. Fast forward a few years, my uncle had a podcast, ultimately inspired me to do a podcast. So shout out. And he also damn near came to tears when John Prine passed away. That sparked something in me, getting into Sturgill Simpson. Every second video of Sturgill Simpson was Sturgill Simpson with John Prine. That accelerated it. For the last year, I've been listening to John Prine solid. John Prine was born in Maywood, Illinois in 1946. October 10th, passed away April 7th, 2020, Nashville, Tennessee, age 73. He was born and raised in Chicago suburb Maywood. He was taught guitar by his brother David when he was 14 years old. He was drafted during Vietnam and served in Germany as a mechanic. Songwriting heroes are Hank Williams Sr., Bob Dylan, and Roger Miller. Roger Miller I did an episode on earlier. Love Roger Miller. Love reading that. He was a mailman for 5 years. He later on started playing at the Fifth Peg. He could write songs on the way to the gig. You should hear John Prine tell the stories about his old gigs, how he came up in between tracks, when his live performances. They're all available on YouTube. There'll be links to my playlist that's full of those YouTube videos of John Prine live. I highly suggest you check that out. His friend Steve Goodwin, discovered by Chris Christopherson, and the first thing he told Chris was, "You got to hear my friend. You got to hear this guy. He's playing over at the Fifth Peg." So Chris, Paul Anka, and a couple other people went over when it was closed down. Chris Christopherson said that John Prine was sleeping in the booth. He was waiting to be paid, actually, and he got paid fairly well, and he was happy with this gig he had. He played 7 songs for Chris Christopherson and these other people, or he claims that he played around 7 songs, and then Chris Christopherson said, "Can you play them again? And anything else you got?" So he played all those songs and a couple others. Chris Christopherson invited him to go on tour with them. It's all available in many, many interviews and great things, and hearing it from John Prine is the best way to hear all those things. You know, if you want to discover music, then look at your heroes' heroes. Great way to discover music. John Prine is the hero to many, including Johnny Cash, who considered him one of like the people that he would lean on him heavily when he was trying to write music. One of his big breaks, also was Roger Ebert, the film critic. He went to go watch a movie. He said the popcorn wasn't any good. The movie was lousy, so he left early. And at the time, he was already famous, very famous Chicago Tribune or Chicago Sun-Times. I can't remember what him and Siskel were, and I used to watch Siskel and Ebert every week. Roger Ebert went into the Fifth Peg and saw John Prine playing there and wrote a story in the paper. He appears on stage with such modesty, he almost seems to be backing into the spotlight. He sings rather quietly, and his guitar work is good, but he doesn't show off. He starts slow, but after a song or two, even the drunks in the room begin to listen to his lyrics, and then he has you. Chris Christopherson said that he knew after the first line he felt like he was watching Dylan in Greenwich Village. John Prine's favorite John Prine song is Far From Me. The Missing Years was his first collaboration with Howie Epstein from Heartbreakers. Roger Waters, when he was asked by Word magazine if he'd heard Pink Floyd's influence in the newer British music, such as Radiohead, he replied, "I don't really listen to Radiohead, just don't move me the way, say, John Prine does." His is just extraordinarily eloquent music, and he lives on a plane with Neil Young and John Lennon. John Prine albums: 1971, self-titled John Prine. 1972, Diamonds in the Rough. 1973, Sweet Revenge. 1975, Common Sense. 1978, Bruised Orange. 1979, Pink Cadillac. 1980, Storm Windows. 1984, Aimless Love. 1986, German Afternoons. 1991, The Missing Years. 1993, A John Prine Christmas. John Prine was a huge Christmas guy. He kept a Christmas tree up year-round and sang about it a lot, wrote about it a lot too. 1995, Lost Dogs and Mixed Blessings. 1999, In Spite of Ourselves. 2000, Souvenirs. 2005, Fair and Square. 2007, Standard Songs for Average People. 2016, For Better or Worse. 2018, his final album, The Tree of Forgiveness, many live albums, many compilations. What I've discovered with John Prine, I love every song so far. He's up there with the absolute greatest songwriters ever. That's it for the JOEpinionated list. Greatest John Prine songs. Remember to like and comment and let me know the greatest in your opinion. Rest in peace to John Prine, and huge respect to all the artists that he worked with along the way. I'm sorry, I'm a little low on facts and high on opinions. Rest in peace, John Prine. Respect.